started. Are you on? Did you turn?
Yep, we're on.
All right. Can you do the roll call,
Sure.
please, Jen?
Mr. Maroli?
Here.
Mr. Coleman? Here. Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Leoni?
Here.
Ms. Bellebar?
Here.
And I'm Joe Cowher.
Okay. And there's no public comments this evening, so we'll move on to adoption of minutes. Any questions, changes, or comments in regards to the minutes from August 22nd, I think? August 22nd. Okay. All right. I need a motion to approve minutes as submitted.
So moved.
I need a second.
A second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Motion passes. There is no new business. And talking about old business. Next is the comprehensive plan, and I've already asked Mike to submit a quick review as to what the plan is for the public meeting on October 20th.
Yeah, I mean, we were all there. We had our meeting just an hour ago, or an hour and a half ago. It's October 20th, 5 to 8. We will have it's going to be set a little different than what they normally do. We are going to have an open air event with a band. We will be roaming around with clipboards, asking questions, getting feedback from our residents. We will be listening, and we will be talking, but our goal is to listen and get feedback from them on what they're looking for Bridgeville and moving forward. So.
If I can make recommendations that we all pull our neighbors in and make sure that they're well informed that what it is and what we're going to be doing.
Talking to the audience.
And how critical their input is.
There's flyers on the table.
Okay, there's flyers on the table for anybody that would like to take some to give to their neighbors. Okay, good.
Start.
Okay, now, the Baldwin Street lots and their reuse plan. I know that everybody has ideas, thoughts, all right? And my question to you all is, what should our next step be? Any recommendations?
Should we, we had a little, conversation, 15, 20 minutes ago that we started spitballing a bunch of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Should we come up with a list of those spitballed ideas and then figure out, okay, we have 6 lots, and even though a lot might be narrow, but it might have an opportunity to go, opportunity to get bigger if we look and see where they're at. Some lots are right between 2 houses, and that's how big they are. So those are really keep. There's some parameters there which we have to follow. We can't go any bigger. But other ones are there as an empty lot, but there's also an empty lot next to it. Mm-hmm. Maybe with doing some research, it gives us a lot bigger opportunity.
Maybe that's a good way to funnel it down.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going, what could be on this lot?
Mm-hmm.
Say,
Right,
okay, what do
right.
we want to see for Baldwin Street?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We funnel down as a priority, and
Yeah.
which one of these lots are doable.
Right.
And then after that, we could flush out, okay, like these little tiny lots, maybe it's best they're just landscape and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And that way we're not like saying, oh, what could we do with this
Right.
address? What could we do with that address?
Right.
Because then it could be like too much.
Right.
I think it's maybe a way to funnel this.
Is this a short-term goal, or is this something we're looking at to do 3 to 5 years?
I would say short, because everything you do is kind of going to be a low-hanging fruit project.
Right.
It's nothing going to be too tangible.
Yeah, we're not putting concrete on the ground.
You can't do fences.
Mhm.
You can't do any real structure.
You can't put a fence around a garden?
I don't think they're going to allow that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Temporary fence?
Yeah, what about temporary fencing,
What do
probably?
you call temporary fencing?
Fence posts with like the snow fence
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like
I
that?
think something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Like
okay,
a deer resist, like just something for,
Or or to make like chicken wire, like a gardening
I
chicken
don't
wire.
think, yeah, no, I'm talking like
Yeah.
a 10-foot chain link fence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
no, just something to protect the,
If we're doing a garden,
yeah.
yeah.
Makes sense.
With that in mind, then, do we want to also justify what we're going to be doing with those lots by looking at the parameters, like we said before, who's going to take care of it? Who's going to be responsible? What's the cost to the borough if we have to do things?
I honestly assume anything anymore, is the borough's assuming everything.
Yeah.
No one's stepping up first.
Well,
Yeah, but there's,
Everything turns out to be the borough.
well,
right, but there's a big difference in cost if you put a little parklet down there for the kids to play hopscotch or cornhole or whatever, and you put mulch down,
Mhm.
okay? As opposed to a bigger lot where you have to maintain the grass or,
We're doing it already. Like, we already have to maintain the grass.
Do we have an opportunity to like engage like Boy Scouts or somebody like that, like theme service
Absolutely.
projects?
Mhm.
Always.
To develop
Yeah.
like,
Troop 2.
That's what's nice, is we come down with like
Yeah.
a list, and then we come up with a conceptual
Right.
idea
Yeah.
for those lots.
Right.
Then you could, how we can do it, and maybe one avenue is an Eagle Scout project.
right.
That'd be fair,
Yeah.
that'd be nice.
And then the other thing is too, is that at least when we identify or perhaps get closer to identifying what we want on those lots, we'll be able to look at grant money and it may make it easier to get things accomplished if we're looking at a wildflower garden, or we're looking at the gardening, the lots for gardens and that sort of stuff. Okay, all right,
All that's great ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Like if you're doing a garden, we wouldn't expect the borough to say, hey, we're planting tomatoes.
Yeah.
Well-
Hey, yeah, go down there and water the tomatoes.
I do
No,
know-
but you would have like,
Someone's
hey,
gonna have to be a garden, like.
yeah, you have to have a club, almost start a garden club.
Penn State University has an urban garden grant, I think, and an education, somebody goes to a community and you can build the
Like raised beds.
raised
And
beds.
there's Grow Pittsburgh too.
yeah.
Right,
Grow Pittsburgh, they would probably come here in a heartbeat and
Right,
say,
right.
here's how you do it.
right,
You
so,
can get a water thing, have the fire department fill it up, once a month.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so, again, I think all of these things, we have to think outside of the box as to who's gonna be responsible, how it's going to happen, who's gonna finance it, or whatever, maybe we leave it fallow and don't do anything at all.
And I think it goes on what Dale's asking, what's 3, what's 5
Right,
years, and
right.
that kind of answers that.
Okay.
Because some could be really rather easy, that we could
Yeah.
have something here by this time next year.
Right.
Have something to show.
You could say, like I said, if you wanna do like a garden, it wouldn't be hard to
Yeah.
start it in the spring and have, actually plant by, Mother's or May.
Right,
Even something
Yeah,
small
there's
like
probably-
there's like a cornhole court, like that's,
Right,
yeah, we can have
right.
that done, but
Mm-hmm.
little things.
Yeah.
so do we wanna talk time frame?
And like some things are like even like, do you want to make them parking? Like that's something like that's.
So that was
discussing.
I mean, is that possible to make a permeable
As long
parking?
as it's permeable, so like
Yeah.
asphalt millings.
Or, well, I was,
You can't pave.
no, I was thinking about
What about
paver bricks, for instance.
Yeah, or they have stone that actually has a hole in it.
Right,
And grass
right.
grows up, but it's stone
Right.
around,
Yeah.
like a block, but it's filled with dirt, and then grass grows in between them.
That's a lot of money.
Something,
Oh, I
something
know,
like
that
that.
is true, yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, I think that stuff's more, what you're talking about is a lot more permeable than
Yeah.
asphalt filings, but,
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff gets compacted.
sure, I get
But,
it.
you know, would we be competing with the parking authority by doing something like that?
No, it's the borough ones. So. Yeah, but I think that is interesting. It's like the lot that really has all the attention is that corner lot at Jane.
Yeah.
Because that really would make a good public parking lot for
Right,
the railroad
right.
street area.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
If we make that a parking lot,
Uh-huh.
just hypothetically, if we we make that a parking spot, could we remove parking on Railroad? Move it behind the buildings? And then perhaps allow some sort of the restaurants there to do a little bump out for table seating for the outside?
I think serve, we go across the street and serve.
No. Like, let's just say in front of DeMarco's,
The areas.
DeMario's.
So you mean the on-street parking spot, not the lot along the railroad tracks?
Correct,
Oh, okay.
right.
Uh-huh.
You know, because if I remember correctly, the guy from Manton, all right, that when we interviewed them, one of the things that he had thought of was to make Railroad Street sort of an entertainment area and do the whole street. And make sure, try to attract restaurants down there, more restaurants down there. And that way then you could do on the sidewalk seating. So,
Like cafe seating.
yeah. And, it could be a good,
You can widen the
Beginning.
sidewalk, you can actually
right.
maybe bring the sidewalk, open it up.
I mean, there's a lot, people just put those planters and tables and chairs and that sort of thing. So, that,
It's a viable concept. It's just, is there a will to do it?
Mhm.
But it could be done. It'd be equal to you guys how council got rid of the parking right now on Station Street.
right.
It's the same thing, so it's within the ability to do.
And nobody complained about that.
Yeah, it went over very well.
And I mean, I sit there and I think, oh my God, if somebody really wanted to sit there when the buses go by. But you know what? They're doing it in all sorts of communities now.
Yeah.
They're doing on the streets.
They're doing it downtown Pittsburgh.
Right,
they're doing it
right.
in Cleveland.
Not so much that, on the other side. Because the Antique has parking in the back. So that didn't affect them.
Yeah. So how do you want to maybe just put say, hey, come to this next meeting with your ideas?
Yeah, but I think we should also not only come with our ideas, but also come with the underlying potential financing or grant money.
Oh, no, I would say, let me handle that. I think you come up with the ideas, I'll find you the money. Just give me time. Just give me time.
Yeah, I know that, but
But then you shouldn't have to be expected to do that, but you could say, hey, if I wanted to make this a garden project, I think it's a good community partnership. I
okay.
think the way you could, if I could ask your help, is like, who would be a good partner that you
Okay,
can partner with?
all right.
Are we able to get like corporate sponsorship for any of those projects?
Sure, can't.
If it's
It
going
might
to
hurt to
borough,
try.
but I mean, if it's borough-owned property, that's okay.
Who was
but
we talking to?
That's sponsored,
They
okay.
whatchamacallit, we were joking, because we were gonna see, we were gonna joke with Joe Verducci. Bethel Park put a park or something in, and they had $1 million, some corporate sponsor or something, like $1 million. We're like, hey, we'll get you a little parklet, Joe, you can put Brentwood Bank's name on it.
We can sell the rights.
Exactly, that's what they did, they sold the right, they named the park, it was like the,
Well, the other thing is too, and you know this as well as I do, being a longtime Bridgeville person, all right? There are families down there that grew up there, that they're still around Bridgeville,
Oh, yeah.
all right? And, part of me thinks that it would be nice for the people of Bridgeville, or not, the people that used to live on Baldwin Street, somehow to do a little history board.
So, if you go to the Historical Society, they have the map of Old Baldwin
Right,
Street
right.
showing all the different residents and businesses.
Yeah,
I mean, I talk about mom and stuff, and she tells you, like, remember they grew up down there?
right,
All the different, it was the main street in Bridgeville, it's where all the businesses, all the markets and everything were.
And if we would consider something like that, it could be that it may be small donations to get from people that used to live on Baldwin Street, but at least it would be a start. And you're honoring Baldwin Street. Nobody wants to forget what Baldwin Street had before, so.
I think you could do it, you don't want it to be just like this gross demolition, urban renewal.
Yeah.
You want something.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Okay.
parklets to
Yeah.
sit and eat and.
Yeah,
That's a good way, I don't think we really looked at it that way, it's like, even just, I never even thought just something simple as picnic tables.
Yeah.
Cause
Right.
like, if you have those restaurants,
Mhm.
you can encourage it, and that's cheap.
Yeah,
We could
yeah.
do that in the spring.
Absolutely.
We had something simple, like 2 trees and 2 picnic tables, and boom, that lot looks like it has a purpose.
Mhm.
Right, exactly.
And it don't defeat the flood purpose, and,
No.
and it looks like a community.
A sculpture or two down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think it would all go together.
Yeah,
That's a nice, something simple.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be real complex.
No, it
And
doesn't.
especially when you've got a lot that's, 30 or 40 by 120 that ends up, right down by the creek,
Yeah.
You could put a bench or something down by the creek as a meditation place,
What's gonna happen is people are gonna go hang out there,
Like,
and
make
they're
like
gonna
a
say,
wildflower
can we do this?
at
And
the
we'll be
end
like,
of the
yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be nice, little meditation spots.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not talking about,
What about outdoor yoga?
about mountains of money to do it.
Totally.
You know?
I'd love to see that area by the Sec Pavilion to a church here, so be kind of like landscaped or whatever for outdoor yoga. There's
Right,
lots of
so-
yoga instructors down there.
we'll all come with ideas for next week, next month.
I think, yeah, it should.
And I honestly think that we need to look outside of the box a little bit, whether or not it is a little history of Bridgeville and with a couple of picnic tables and pictures of what Bridgeville looked like on Baldwin Street.
And you could get those real nice historical kiosks.
Correct.
That would be kind of cool,
Right.
put them down,
You could-
kind of like with, with the sculptures, there's like the little name plaques, you could do something like
Right,
that.
right, right.
Hey, this is a little history of Baldwin Street.
But we need it so that it looks like part of our community, not just empty lots.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right.
So we're definitely taking the right conversation, because a lot of places just do what we did and call it a day, you
Right.
know? It's nice to take it to the next level. So
Oh, yeah.
This is exciting.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is too, is that you might be able to get maybe some corporate sponsoring from Universal, because a lot of their workers came from Baldwin Street, that ethnic group.
Universal,
The steel mill,
that's J&L, that's Universal, is that a new name, or is that who's been,
It's been forever.
yeah, the one behind Bus Garage.
yeah, I know
Yeah.
exactly which place you're talking about, I just always thought it was.
Universal Cyclops.
Oh, okay, now we're covering with gas. Okay.
Maybe I'll make some type of survey form,
Yeah.
just so that get us thinking. And
Okay.
get out to run so that everyone brings that back.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a little more tangible to
Yeah.
keep us.
And I think the other thing too, Joe, the lots that are next to another lot, like the one behind.
Like
your
the Alice
house.
Club one.
Yeah, like if we could find out, okay, what would it take to make it bigger? We have this one, what would it take to get this, permission to use that as well?
Oh, no, see, the Alice Club lot, I think it's landlocked. Do you mean the ones that have something next to
So
it?
you're thinking the Italian Club lot.
No, the Alice Club, so.
Alice
the
Club Lodge,
To the left.
correct,
Oh,
is
yeah,
not
yeah.
good for.
Right.
How much anything, I see just landscape it, so
Right.
it don't look.
And I'm talking about the one where Polinos, we took Polinos, and then next to it is grass as well.
Yeah, that one there, we don't have to do an owner. What we'll end up doing is if there's interest to do that, we go through the county's vacant property
Okay.
program and we can acquire.
Yeah, because that basically, that.
It meets all the criteria, because it's.
Right. Yeah, so now instead of a 30 by 100 feet, now we're 60 by 100.
Yeah.
And it's it gives you a lot more opportunity to do something.
Yeah, because it lines up well with across the street.
Exactly.
Right.
Because those two are perfect. That's really the future, is those
Yeah.
two. The other ones, you have, if you had to flush them out real quick, the Alice one is sandwiched between 2 other occupied
Right.
places, so it's I really can't do anything public there, it wouldn't be fair to people. 607, that one may have potential if you can figure out if the neighboring property wants to play ball,
Right.
And then 619 is sandwiched between 2 occupied places, and it's really not that big, so I don't know
Right,
what
that
the
one's,
future.
yeah, that one's tight.
And then the other one is the hill.
The hill.
And
So that one there could be, I think that one there is the most potential for a garden, because it's terraced.
You could terrace it.
You could terrace, you could put water up top, you know, and then gravity fed, you don't have to worry about plumbing or anything like that. Just get like a 500-gallon plastic, you know, you see them in the back, like landscaping trucks. And just have the fire department fill it a couple times.
What's the liability on something like that, then?
What do you mean?
I mean, what happens if somebody falls down the hill?
Same as they fall on the flats.
Yeah. Somebody could fall walking out of the borough building, you know?
Maybe like 619 would be a good, like, community garden lot. We're just putting a couple raised beds in.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it gets enough sun. That would be the only thing.
And 607 is small, it's really tiny.
Yeah, it is.
Dale, you mentioned,
607, you got that's one where you have to talk to the people next to it and say, you have an
And
opportunity to.
he's not,
No.
he's a lawyer and he's very liability focused, because I get many calls from him.
Dale, you mentioned sculpture, and we're talking about narrow lots. There's some concept work that involved a project of like a sort of a snaking wall that had, and this would use some thing like AutoCast or one of those online guys that you record information and you have QR codes where you can access information about what it is that you're looking at. And it could tell the history of Bridgeville. It could be, there's a lot you could do with something that would be fundamentally very skinny, because you'd be standing, as you look at it, you're walking down the sides of it, up and back. And I don't, Joe, do you think there's any buckets of money for something like that, where you're talking about trying to commission a historical, it's a historical artistic thing that speaks to the history of Bridgeville?
Could be, I'm not aware.
Okay.
Well, I was just thinking, you know, the long, narrow lots, I mean, that would be something that, you know, most all of the sculptures that are around town, we could, you know, are small enough that we could put 2 or 3 on a 30 by 100 foot lot without a problem. You know, put a picnic table in there and you know, just a place for quiet reflection, but also culture along the way. Just, you know,
I know, we're all spitballing.
Okay. All right, so we all have our assignment for next month, right?
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
What, we're coming up with ideas?
Coming up with ideas, providing as much ammunition as you can as to why you think it's a good idea for that particular lot.
And I can get a worksheet out there.
Yeah, right.
No worries.
All right,
Yeah, I got a question as long as we're talking about Baldwin Street. Where are we at with flooding and trying to communicate? I mean, we've discussed this in the past that, you know, there are 3 potential ideas for doing stuff down on Baldwin Street, you know, from the flooding, with the engineers put together the packet for, you know, potential mediation. Are we gonna move that forward this year? Or are we gonna?
Kick that to the comp plan.
Okay.
So Mac and dive deeper into that. So
Okay.
maybe you steer me if I'm wrong, but the way I believe it to be is that we agreed as a whole to have a comp plan discussion, to say the community's going to be at the table, and then when they start diving deeper into these chapters, which are the issues, that's really one of the issues when it comes to flooding. So,
now I do have a question. If can we make that flood mitigation, like, number one, discussion as to what should go into the comp plan?
Oh,
And
she
that's-
already said that, because remember, we knew that.
There were two things.
Yeah, flooding.
Right.
Flooding,
Traffic.
economic development, and traffic.
Okay.
Those are
All
like
right.
chapters
Okay.
1, 2, and 3.
Okay,
And we were hoping to like dive deeper into that.
okay.
And
all right.
then, while we're getting these community surveys, this is
Yeah.
the other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it was even all the communications from the start. So
Okay.
we hear, we know these are the
Thank you for
Flooding,
the
economic
reminder.
development, and what was the third?
traffic.
Traffic. Oh, got it, can't believe
Yeah,
I
I
didn't. Top of mind. Duh.
All right, let me see where am I? All right. All right, so anything else that we need to talk about? Active transportation plans, projects, implementation and recommendations. Do you want to follow up with the
Yeah.
update?
I could just give an update, is that the plan actually being adopted has become a useful tool. And I want to thank you guys, because it actually has been a leveraging item that's getting a lot of things coming about. Very simple is that when it comes for grant programs I open up, and if I see something that can make it fit, I would use them as a tool. So we just submitted a grant application last week to reconstruct the Gregg Avenue steps in Greenwood down to Laurel. It's a big project. I honestly, this same funding source just gave us a grant last year, so I'm not very confident that it's going to get awarded this time around. But I have a feeling that if I can throw it 2-3 times, it will eventually stick. It's going to take me some time, but at least all the work's done. So that's being advanced. Bank Street came about. It's interesting in the comp plan or in the active transportation plan. You guys wanted bump outs on there, so they're paving Bank Street next year, and then after they're done paving, they're required to upgrade the ADA and sidewalk ramps. So I met with them a while back, because the borough has to pay 20% of that cost, and then it was raised, hey, we have it in our plan to do bump outs, and you're doing the handicap ramps, let's plan a CDC, PennDOT would do this for us. So we sent a letter to PennDOT saying, hey, we have an adopted plan that requests bump outs at these 4 intersections on Bank Street. It's Winfield, Elizabeth Street, and Grandview, kind of a funky intersection. Gregg, and then down at Dewey, too.
Was it Chestnut?
No, they only had 4.
I feel like we can agree that Winfield is a good call though, right?
Winfield is definitely a good call.
So PennDOT came back and said, if Bridgeville pays for the materials to basically bridge the current sidewalk to the new ADA ramp, they will take care of all the soft costs, so the engineering, the bidding, incorporate it in their project. So we met with PennDOT actually this morning. They had a conceptual plan that they're just using a design build off of another city, saying, hey, we could do these standard bump outs at those intersections, and it turns out to be 12 bump outs, and it's basically the length of a car, and so much would be, a sidewalk to the new ramp, and then so much back would be a landscaping area that you could put a street tree or some type of landscaping in, so it would look nice on.
Could you actually put a tree?
I'm very confident in the tree.
I mean, you always talk about traffic calming devices.
Right.
People
Right.
complain on banks that people just, they start at the bottom, and then by the time they get to Dewey or Gregg, they're flooring it.
Right.
And the bump outs alone will be calming.
Yes.
But you start putting trees,
That would work.
that look really nice
And
too.
we said trees to them,
Mhm.
because originally they just showed concrete. And I'm
Right.
thinking, I'm paying for all materials, it's kind of
Right.
wasteful. Can you just do concrete curb and then just leave it like a
Yeah.
mulch bed, and we can do a street tree? He said, oh yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
That was exactly it. So the way it's gonna be next is that their engineer is gonna quantify the quantities and give us an estimate, and then Borough Council can say, yeah, or run with it. So, but the estimate is just for the quantities of the materials alone. So kind of, if we're ever gonna do these bump outs,
It's now
it's once in our life.
Right, right.
So it really worked out well, and I think the only thing that really gave us leverage was the active
Right.
transportation.
Now, is there a grant money for bump outs? Because I thought in some of my readings, when I was looking into bump outs, that I saw that Pennsylvania was paying for traffic calming.
There may be, but if you think about it here, the bump out, most of it is a handicap ramp.
Okay,
PennDOT's already paying 80% of that handicap ramp.
Okay.
So
Oh, okay.
that's a grant. So all the borough's on the hook for is about 20 feet of curbing,
okay,
above it.
Yeah.
And then a little, probably 8-foot concrete slab to go from the current sidewalk
Okay,
to
all
the
right.
ADA ramp. So I don't think.
It's gonna be minimal then.
It's gonna be expensive,
Right.
but I don't think it's worth dragging their feet on a grant.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna pay for it all, we just have to
Okay.
reimburse the state.
Okay,
So it's a good thing.
Didn't we talk about, like, a meeting earlier this year about then, like, potentially doing some art on the concrete? Like how some towns are doing, like, a mural on the
Right,
ground
right. I
that
think
also
that-
helps with calming?
that when we were in the active transportation plan, there was then, they had talked about doing that, center island down by Crafty Jackalope,
Oh, yeah.
okay? Then the other thing is too, and I think I saw it in the active transportation plan, the intersection of Bower Hill and Washington Avenue. Because that crosswalk is rather large. And I think at
Yeah.
one time we had talked about doing some artwork
Yeah, like.
on the street there to slow traffic down.
We won't get approval on a state road for that. We could do it on Borough Street,
Yeah,
like,
okay,
they're particular on
yeah,
crosswalk.
It would be nice though, maybe to use one of PennDOT's approved patterns for filling in the
Right,
crosswalks to make
yeah.
it more visible.
Yeah, that is,
Yeah.
that's a tough intersection right here.
Oh, yeah, and it's just, it's one of those things, I was at Massachusetts a while ago, in a small community that in the summertime is just inundated, I mean, it's, a lot of traffic. And what they did is they painted their crosswalks a solid green, or they used a red hatching color across there, and it really just stood out, as you're driving down the road. Oh, there's something different here, pedestrians, that type of thing.
Yeah. You always see like fancy brick lines or something like that, but now like you can get like thermoplastic
Yeah,
that would look like brick. And I know they've approved that on state roads.
yeah.
Is that what you're thinking, or
Yes.
were you thinking more like when people paint like?
Like fish
Some-
or something, yeah, like,
Yeah.
well,
Some kind of-
like
like flowers.
I saw it the first time down
Like
in
Railroad Street, you
Pittsburgh.
could do all that.
Right, yeah,
That would be nice on Railroad Street.
Oh, yeah, or even like drawing people into Baldwin then,
You can do all that.
yeah. That could be kind of, if we were gonna make Baldwin a feature with all these little parklets
yeah.
and things.
Well, let's find out what what the state allows us to do on a state road.
What do you want to do? You're gonna have to tell me what you want to do.
I'd like this
Identify the
about my
crosswalks with
like, they can-
color
yeah.
or hatching or, what will they allow us to do?
Okay, I have to go to them and say, hey, will you allow this? So
Yeah.
I'll find like a nice, like stamped brick, plastic.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking of Washington Avenue, there's a whole bunch of signage coming back out, the doer signs, the sandwich signs popping up on Washington Avenue, sandwich board sign popping back up again.
Yeah,
Just saying.
it's hard. Yeah, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
Maybe.
They don't even understand it. They don't want to understand it. And, yeah, I don't have to tell you. I can keep forcing it, but I need support.
Oh,
The
yeah, my
The sandwich board signs
Yeah.
are in front of shops that not brick art.
Okay, all right.
Things they can't have in there. Joe had gotten people to, he'd send out letters and gotten people to pull them in. Well, now they're proliferating.
Hold on.
and there's gotta be
Anything else?
10
Oh, yeah.
15 of them.
Oh,
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead. All right, oh, yes, okay, please.
I know at one point in time, trying to replace that.
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that still on?
Yes.
Okay. Isn't that going to impact some of the things that we talk about with the flooding for Bower Hill? I know that there was a discussion about, maybe closing down part of Bower Hill and rerouting around and that type of thing. I
I
just,
would say no, because like, here's what you have. The bridge is actually in very good condition. The borough, after the 2018 flood, was very successful to get the county to acknowledge that the center pier is the source of a lot of the corking. And the county canceled their idea to do a rehab project and say, hey, we understand, Bridgeville, you're coming to us with these pleas to get rid of the center pier. You know what, we'll figure out how to do it. And they were able to get funding to replace that bridge.
okay.
That took years. Now, a couple of our faces have changed, okay? And PennDOT has now, the county is able to get federal funding to replace the bridge. They released a contract now to hire an engineer to do the bridge design. The bridge is scheduled for 2026, 2027 to be redone.
Okay.
And they even say, we've had many meetings with them, this is only being redone because Bridgeville came to us because this is flooding. Now, I understand some of our faces are changing, saying, hey, you know what, let's put an off-ramp here, and don't do this because of this.
Right.
It's like, we already went to them saying, do this bridge because you're flooding.
Right.
Our story is straight, we're not going back.
Okay.
But we did.
That makes sense. No,
Yeah,
that makes
but,
sense.
But a lot of people here, we're getting mixed vibes coming out of this room, some different times. Not right now, but other times we are. And we did go to them saying, hey, while you are looking at this, there are some things though that need to be done in concert with some improvements going on in town. Like that active transportation plan showed, hey, this whole corridor needs some, just looking at because of railroad alignment and stuff. And then there was talk that I think they're on the hook with now doing is that the roadway alignment is very bad with Bar Hill Road, how. So they are now in agreement to smoothen the road transition. So
Okay.
they're
So that whole intersection is gonna change with the bridge.
yes, but your kind of hands are tied because of the elevation of Railroad Street, the railroad tracks, and then they
Right.
don't want to touch anything with the railroad tracks because then it brings in PUC, and then it ties everything up that way.
Right.
And then the railroad kind of trumps everyone.
Yep.
So there's a lot of issues there. And then you have a business driveway, then you have the borough roads, and then you have a waterway that gets DEP involved. So there is so many layers to this. And they finally said, all right, we're going full steam with this. And so the borough needs to say, hey, thank you, be the big
Right.
champion here, because it really is going to do a lot of good. But they are open to some concepts like aligning the road. But if we went to them saying, hey, we don't want this bridge now, or we
Right.
don't want this road here, they're gonna look at us like we got four eyes.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
we need to make sure we're one unified town.
So, when we talk about flood mitigation, because one of those plans was removing Bower Hill, that
Mhm.
is off the table now.
No, I wouldn't say that's off the table, because that bridge would still just
Yeah.
go to Union Street.
Oh, okay, all right,
Yeah, you still
okay,
need access to the Union Street,
okay, all right.
Yeah.
the hillside for the fire department.
And they know of all of those floodplains, because right now, when they solicit proposals from engineering firms to do the job, all those firms, while they're making their proposals, wanted to know what was the borough's comp plan, what was the borough's flood studies they're doing.
Okay.
They all got copies of the active transportation plans. So every engineer that really had some merit there that was making an application to the county got them. And then about 3 weeks ago, there was a pre-job meeting with the county and PennDOT, because PennDOT's now involved in the project because they manage the federal highway money for the project. And they have a project manager on my team, and they're aware of all that. And we were successful to keep the door open and clean up the roadway alignment.
Good.
But I know there's some other talk going on about like other really pie in the sky things there. And it's like, I really feel like them doing this bridge is pie in the sky. And
Oh, yeah, because when
they weren't going to do it.
yeah, because they came, we had Governor Wolf here, we had Fitzgerald was here,
we closed the deal getting this bridge done
Mhm.
last year, so it was official. So, but like, it's being done under,
Okay.
pretty much under the auspices of Bridgeville Flood Protection.
Right?
Okay,
Yeah, that's really what it
Okay.
is.
okay.
But, I think if like we had like, hey, unique ways to line the road, or how it can be better suit the community, by all means, they're open to it.
Yeah.
But like, if we go to them saying,
Yeah.
hey,
Don't do the bridge.
don't do the bridge,
Yeah.
'cause- yeah,
Yeah.
don't do the bridge now.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
Isn't
You're
there-
never getting a bridge.
yeah, I mean, if the money's there, the project's already moving forward and it's been approved, there's no sense in looking a gift horse in the mouth.
No, especially when you know that the bridge is structurally sound and gives a good grade, and they're replacing a good graded bridge.
Especially with infrastructure the way it is. You have bridges that are collapsing, and we're caring about
Yeah.
a good bridge, like, okay.
And, go ahead.
What is you had Bank and Lesnet roundabout on here.
Upper St. Clair, now that they finished the PennDOT project on the bottom, I talked to their manager last week. He called and goes, hey, would you have any interest, would Bridgeville have any interest in doing a shared project with us, going to PennDOT to do another roundabout up at Lesnet Bank and, that intersection. And I referenced and said, it's in the active transportation plan to do a roundabout out there. So the community says there already is interest. So if you do it, I have a plan that the borough adopted and vetted. So if the borough said it was a bad idea, we would have scratched it. So there's going to be a joint letter sent to PennDOT hopefully within a month from the two towns to try to get funding to do a roundabout.
That's great. You know,
Except while it's being built.
But, no, but
Yeah, but
tell Sarakowski that it shouldn't be half and half. They didn't give us a penny for this bridge. That's all their traffic. I mean,
They didn't pay a penny for that roundabout. And I even said to him, I said, well, I know that you didn't pay a penny for that roundabout, and we would be open to doing this if you can match that same funding equation up here.
yeah,
Because I said the borough don't have it.
exactly.
I said, we don't have it, and he understood.
Yeah, exactly. And especially the way they let this high and dry. They'd come to the meetings, for the bridge project, and there'd be us in South Fayette, and we're handing money over, and we're like, Upper St. Clair, what would you like to contribute? We're just here to support this project. Oh, yeah, I'm sure you like it. I'm sure you'll, because it helps your citizens.
the good thing I think about the roundabout on Bank would be that at least they don't have to, like, when they
Align.
built it up on McLaughlin Road, they had to realign the
Right.
creek and all
You
this
would have,
other stuff.
you would have to
so-
realign Lesnut
Right,
and Chartiers.
No.
and they practice now, right?
Yeah, everybody's used to it. I did it on some bro.
It's almost a natural roundabout.
It is.
The way that they're
Yeah.
offset, it
Mhm.
kind of works.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have this one going this way and this one coming in.
Yeah. And it is a bad intersection. There's a lot of
Yeah, because
accidents.
a lot of the people, nobody's really getting to the top of Chartiers and making a left.
Mhm.
They're either going straight or
Right.
right.
Right, unless you come out of the park,
And
That's
that's it.
true too.
Yeah.
and then people try to murder you in that
Right.
intersection.
Yeah.
Murder out there.
All right, any other comments? Joe, are you finished?
No, but I think with that, I don't want it to end at that. Like, if there's something like, we see that we'd like to advance, by all means, give me some marching orders and I'll try to make it happen. But it's like, we've got a lot going on in the town. There's only so much money to match different projects.
Right.
So we need to be conscious of it.
Right.
That's it.
I mean, just the projects you just rattled off. I mean, it checks off a lot of the boxes just on that active transportation. agreement.
Right.
It's on there.
Yeah.
And who knew that we would, maybe you did, that it would be such a valuable tool when we got around to doing it, you know?
Yeah, the transportation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
some people were complaining that they didn't think that the company did they expected more, and, it's still.
It's proven its worth, I think.
Well, and I mean, it gives the planning commission and the council some merit for doing some of the things.
Right.
It's, it's being able to look
silly, is the 2 map pages and that little shopping list.
Right.
That's really it, because after that, I can say, hey, this is what the citizenry wanted, this is a priority of our community, it's in an adopted plan, we estimate it will cost this, and then you hang your hat on it. And it's gonna take time, it doesn't mean you submit it once and we're rewarded, it's gonna take years, but at least, you got something that gives it merit. It isn't just like the guy sitting at a desk saying, oh, you know what, nothing around up there, it's a community honor to that, yeah.
Two things. Did you make mention to PennDOT or Allegheny County that we went those rails, those
I
metal?
did.
Okay, good.
And she said, we can.
Perfect. And then secondly, any chance for a stoplight on Railroad in Bower Hill?
That would be up to the borough, because it's not, their limits is just the bridge.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah,
So we'd have to look at the final product before.
I would say so, I don't think they're going to do that.
Okay.
Be big fan of that.
Yes. Okay. Any other comments?
Yes, sir.
Oh, excuse me, are you signed in? Give me your name and address, please.
Not really. As far as putting the park down there on Walnut Street,
Yeah,
we got the properties, that's a good deal,
Right.
I paid for the property. But we've got, I guess, 3 parks on this side of Washington Avenue,
oh, okay,
nothing on the other side.
okay,
And I've been thinking about this for 10 years, but we never seemed to have money back in the day, but now we seem to find money.
okay.
So maybe go ahead with that park, but I think we really need to
Look at
try to find
Okay.
some property over there. Those people are gonna succeed from Bridgeville. I'd be ticked.
Yeah,
But we're having a Parks Committee meeting to go over the equipment down in Chartiers. So
okay.
I'm gonna bring it up. I mean, maybe it's not so much for you guys as council, but Joe, it's your neck of the woods where you want your kids to play.
Yeah, it is
There's
tough.
nothing over there. I mean, Bridgeville's small, but
Right,
Chartiers Park, you gotta drive to. It's not really.
Chartiers is like the town park where
Yeah.
nobody's walking there.
Right.
You know, Cook
McLaughlin's
School,
a little better. Cook
Cook
School's
School's a
great.
perfect neighborhood park. You know,
Yeah.
and is there a Cook School up there?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's,
Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
well, nothing that big, but property's scarce up here.
Yeah, I mean, McLaughlin's walkable for everybody down in the map. That's like, on the active transportation, there's the one plan is at the end of Romano, putting a little trail there. And it has, which I don't understand, it says, it has high dollar. I don't see why that'd be that hard.
But our guy says somewhere, if you go down there now, cut it all out, so you can walk it now.
Yeah,
It's
you-
made, it's just,
Yeah,
it's
I
made.
mean, you could actually make it a pretty easy trail.
I thought years ago there was a trail.
There is a trail, but it's not like,
It got overgrown.
it's not like a trail, it isn't like a,
It's like a deer path.
yeah, like you could actually pave it like you'd have the outside trail on Chartier Street, or on Chartiers Park. You could do something like that goes up. But you're right, Joe, that's a good point, putting something on the other side of it.
Been thinking about it for 10 years, but we just never seem to have
Yeah.
money.
There's no property over there, the borough doesn't own the property on the inside of Washington anyway.
There's 2 businesses, they're only having home child, but
Yeah.
well, how about
weird dealings
when,
in town.
whenever we did that tour with Brandy,
Yeah.
and we went back down behind the church, Corpus Christi, and we went down in that area back there on 79, where
Yeah.
79 crosses over.
Yeah.
Is that privately owned?
It's Bridgeville, but it's like hidden and it's like,
Did we not talk about a trail so that we?
there was talk about like, it would be nice to like do that little rail spur and take
Right,
it to Newbury.
right,
That's what
right.
we should have heard.
Yeah,
Cause like that's definitely like, I feel like that's doable.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's what we were showing.
Is there enough property back there to make a park?
If that's
Not a
the
nice
case, we're
fitted
working.
neighborhood park, cause it's not quite like where you would, like I said, Tom, it's like, you wouldn't walk to there, it's like an industrial area. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
I've
actually,
been over
it's
that
actually
area
a pretty
once.
cool space back
It is a nice, even that one building's a cool building.
Yeah, I mean, I walk back in there all the time, it's a very cool space.
People go back there and
would be
It's
the dog.
it's used
Yeah.
back there.
Because there's that railroad trestle, you know, like everyone's talking about dog park. Like, if you're gonna do a dog park, it's like, I don't know if it would be like, I don't know when, but like, where it wouldn't be an issue to the neighborhood. You go under that railroad trestle, it's already fenced in on one side, and then a hillside's on the other.
That whole back behind St. Agnes, there's a lot of potential back there for a lot of different cool stuff.
And that railroad line under that old avenue, it's like, it's a street that got abandoned, but when they built the highway, but the street's still there. Like, that really has, like, the potential to do something. I think that could be it, like that.
Wasn't there a swimming pool back there? Is there a swimming pool back there?
We own the street,
Yeah,
the
very well,
abandoned
just
street,
cross it out.
so the abandoned street is enough area to make it a lot area.
Okay.
It's, imagine a road, like your road where your house,
Yeah,
it just goes to nowhere.
because Bridgeville actually owns,
You mean back where like Public Works keeps all the
Yes, and when
supplies?
you turn left to go to the Public Works garage, you go straight under the railroad trail.
Yeah, I mean, I-
was that Knoll Transfer back in the day?
It's not really, there's not that much
No
space back
transfer?
there, Joe.
Like tractor trailers
How
back
big do
there?
you want a dog park? Like I'm saying, like it's the size of like,
I mean, we,
it's the size of like the football
there's,
field.
Yeah,
we use that as a dog
There's
park
a ton of
sometimes.
space.
There's a lot of space.
Yeah.
There is.
I walk back there all the time, there's not, I wouldn't call it a ton.
All right,
Okay,
field
all right.
trip.
Also, then the Public
one,
Works would have
not
to
just a
have
band.
find another place to put
Exactly.
the road,
Yeah, there's a lot of potential back there.
The road,
the roadkill.
you know, so she's in the right spot.
Yeah, I know, I mean, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
she's right. So that tells you how abandoned it is. that
Yeah.
you can-
Yeah.
Hey, Joe,
Um,
at, when we have our event on the 20th,
I'm gonna need to.
make sure you get interviewed
find out after
Okay.
that.
and say that, so get it on public record that you want to park up on the other side. So it's on the comprehensive, so it's on the record. But yeah, that's a great idea.
Filipinos. My wife right now is with the kids at Cook School Park.
There you go.
Maybe now she's home, but like that's where we have to go.
Okay, all right. Any additional comments? Betty, any comments? All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.